In the history of gaming, few mysteries carry the weight of a single ship. For nearly 2 decades, the Borealis has been the holy grail of the Half-Life and Portal games. It's been the bridge between both franchises. When Episode 2 ended on that annoying as cliffhanger, not only were we mourning the tragic death of Eli Vance, but over the coming years, we mourned the possibility of us never seeing the Borealis or another Half-Life game again. The Borealis wasn't a military vessel, it didn't belong to Black Mesa, but stamped clearly on the boxes that it's transporting is the Aperture logo, which is a company that I thought would simply just be for Easter eggs. And in that single moment, Valve didn't just expand the lore of Half-Life, they tied the survival of our species to the super trustworthy company Aperture Science. The Borealis seemed to be a localized tear in the fabric of space and time, carrying a technology so volatile that its mere existence caused arguments between the higher-ups of the rebels. Eli Vance demanded it to be destroyed, terrified it would trigger a second Black Mesa catastrophe. Dr. Kleiner wanted to weaponize it, viewing it as the ultimate silver bullet to throw back at the Combine. But as the years turned into decades and the silence from Valve grew deafening, the Borealis shifted from an unresolvable plot point to a canvas for some of the most brilliant, terrifying, and mind-bending theories in all of science fiction. It's a vessel with very questionable and confusing capabilities regarding the past, the present, and the future, and to understand what this ship actually is, we have to dive deep into the lore. We'll trace the breadcrumbs this ship left across the games, break down Marc Laidlaw's original script with Epistle 3, explore how the timeline-destroying ending of Half-Life Alyx rewrote its narrative, and finally, unravel one of my personal favorite theories of all time, which suggests that the Combine's powers might actually have been influenced or created by Aperture Science. This is the story of the Borealis. To truly grasp the scale of this mystery, we have to unearth the corporate desperation that birthed the Borealis long before the world ever even knew about the Combine. Years before the 7-Hour War, Aperture Science acquired a former US Coast Guard Healy-class icebreaker. On paper, it was a routine acquisition for maritime research, a clever cover story that the creators mocked internally because the public and federal oversight committees readily accepted the facade of a simple, highly durable icebreaker. In reality, Aperture was locked in a brutal, cutthroat race against Black Mesa for lucrative government funding, a financial panic that drove them to compromise ordinary standards of risk and entirely neglect basic safety measures. They hid this massive vessel in the most illogical, secretive place imaginable, a colossal engineering dry dock buried nearly 4,000 meters beneath the surface of the Earth, deep within the vintage 1970s testing sectors of Test Shaft 9. To make room for their highly experimental payload, engineers meticulously stripped the ship's hull of every single non-essential component, leaving absolutely no backup supplies, survival provisions, or long-term food safety nets for the crew. They were building a vessel meant to house a massive breakthrough in raw, large-scale teleportation, an asset so volatile that leadership integrated a panic override sequence via an onboard control box coded simply as HB1, allowing them to teleport the ship away if their facility was ever compromised. The ultimate cost of Aperture's blind ambition was a spatial catastrophe that completely shattered the laws of physics. The ship never had the chance to taste the open ocean. Instead, a sudden, desperate activation of its experimental teleportation technology caused the entire vessel to vanish instantly from existence alongside its entire crew. This was not a clean dimensional displacement like Aperture Science hoped it would be. The spatial tearing field generated by the ship was so violent that it physically ripped out a massive chunk of the dry dock, leaving behind nothing but an echoing, empty underground gulf and a few scattered orange life preservers bearing the ship's name. Aperture had successfully engineered a form of teleportation on a scale vastly superior to a standard handheld portal device, and incredibly more advanced than anything Black Mesa had come up with, creating a self-contained system that required no receiving portal frame on the other end. But the ship was entirely lost to the void, becoming a ghost story whispered among the scientific community, until the arrival of the Combine changed the stakes of human survival. Decades later, amid the bleak ruins of the alien occupation, the ghost ship re-emerged to push the fragile human resistance to the brink of a civil war. Deep in the frozen wastes of the Arctic, Resistance operative Dr. Judith Mossman successfully located the physical coordinates of the long-lost project, before her forces were violently ambushed and her video feed was cut short by Combine patrols. she managed to broadcast a frantic, encrypted transmission containing photographs, coordinates, and the ship's internal hailing frequencies back to Earth, though the Combine initially intercepted this data packet at the Citadel core. Gordon Freeman and Alyx Vance fought their way through the collapsing infrastructure of City-17 to steal it all back, delivering the crucial blueprints directly to the Resistance headquarters at White Forest. When the data was finally decoded, it revealed that the Borealis harbored various Aperture technologies, including a material emancipation grail and presumably other important pieces of technology. This revelation immediately caused problems within the higher-ups in the Resistance. Dr. Isaac Kleiner analyzed the recovered blueprints and saw a scientific miracle, a localized teleportation weapon that the Resistance could harness to strike a definitive blow against the occupying forces and win the uprising. However, Eli Vance looked at those exact same schematics and saw nothing but problems, haunted by the catastrophic events of the Black Mesa incident and desperate to avoid a second 7-hour war. Eli recognized the terrifying reality of toying with such immense power. While the Combine possess a massive, terrifying, multi-dimensional empire, they've never actually managed to perfect localized point-to-point teleportation technology within a single planet's dimension. They rely on massive, slow-moving infrastructure to cross boundaries between worlds, meaning their occupying forces currently on Earth are effectively stranded and cut off from their primary interdimensional reinforcements. Eli understood with absolute certainty that if the Combine captured the Borealis, humanity would hand them the missing piece of their technological puzzle. With Aperture's large-scale bootstrap technology, the Combine could instantly reconnect a direct, unmonitored gateway straight back to the Combine overworld. The dimensional barriers keeping the core empire at bay would shatter, allowing the aliens to instantly flood Earth with an infinite, world-crushing military force that would ensure the absolute extinction of the human race. This is why the Borealis became the ultimate focal point of the entire franchise, a frozen prize that could either buy humanity its freedom or cause more destruction and chaos. With the historical foundation of the ship established, we can finally step into the realm of speculative narrative, beginning with what was long considered the official unmade ending to the trilogy. This brings us to our first major theory of where the Borealis goes next, which is pulled directly from the mind of the man who built the narrative foundations of the franchise, Marc Laidlaw. Years after leaving Valve, Laidlaw released a thinly veiled piece of fan fiction titled Epistle 3, a literal script outline masquerading as a letter from Gordon Freeman. In this timeline, the story of the Borealis picks up immediately after the tragic funeral of Eli Vance. Driven by grief and a burning desire to honor her father's dying wish, Alyx Vance, alongside Gordon, boards a helicopter and flies directly into the freezing hell of the Arctic wasteland. After their aircraft is mysteriously brought down, the duo treks through a blinding, jumbled blur of a blizzard until they finally reach the exact coordinates transmitted by Judith Mossman. What they find there is not a ship resting peacefully in the ice, but a massive, sinister Combine fortification around an open, frozen field. The Combine hadn't captured the Borealis yet because the ship wasn't entirely physical. Instead, it manifested as a recurring auroral effect, a vast, shimmering hologram phasing in and out of reality. The Combine had set up massive lensing systems, not to hold the ship, but to study it and seize it the exact microsecond it finally stabilized into our plane of existence. Before Gordon and Alyx can even attempt to board the ship, they're captured, not by standard alien soldiers, but by Wallace Breen. In an interesting piece of cosmic horror, Breen's consciousness had been backed up by the Combine prior to his death at the Citadel, and his mind was now trapped inside the grotesque body of an enormous slug-like Combine grub. This Breen grub is a miserable, terrified prisoner of his own empire, openly weeping and begging Gordon to end his existence, a mercy that Gordon secretly grants out of Alyx's sight. After escaping Breen's prison, they locate and free the captured Judith Mossman. The reunion is toxic, though, as Alyx blames Judith for her father's death, a tragedy that breaks Judith completely, as she had no idea Eli was even dead. To prove her loyalty to the Resistance, Judith uses specialized resonance keys to perfectly attune the frequencies of the anomaly, forcing the Borealis into a brief, fragile state of physical coherence. Gordon and Alyx scramble aboard the deck just as the ship unmoors from reality once again, leaving the Combine and their own arriving Resistance members fighting on the ice below. Once inside the hull, we see Aperture Science's breakthrough. The bootstrap device didn't just move the ship through space, It stretched the vessel across the fabric of space-time itself, like an elastic band vibrating violently across history. The interior of the Borealis transforms into a half-ghost ship, half-weird funhouse where time loops pass through the corridors like bubbles, forcing Gordon and Alex to confront terrifying, different versions of themselves. Looking out from the windows of the bridge, reality completely fractures. In one direction, they can see the sunlit dry docks of Aperture Science in Michigan decades ago, right as the Combine forces close in during the 7-Hour War. In another direction, they see the modern Arctic wasteland where their friends are currently fighting, and in the distance, they catch fleeting, terrifying glimpses of alien worlds deep in the future, including a central Combine staging ground for universal invasions. As the temporal madness pushes them to the brink of insanity, a fatal ideological breaking point is reached. Judith Mossman argues passionately that they must stabilize the ship and hand it over to the Resistance so humanity can harness its reality-bending power. Alex, blinded by her vow to her father, refuses to let anybody touch it. The argument then turns physical. Judith overpowers Alex to save the ship, and in a split-second decision of panic and violence, a gunshot echoes throughout the metal corridors, and Judith Mossman falls dead, killed by Alex's hand. Committed to a suicide plunge, Alex and Gordon rig the bootstrap device to turn the entire ship into a time-traveling missile, steering its course directly into the heart of the Combine's home world. It is at this exact moment of ultimate doom that the G-Man materializes, but for the first time in the entire series, he doesn't look at Gordon. He steps past him and approaches Alex instead, reclaiming the asset he's been grooming since her childhood. Alex willingly follows the grey-suited businessman out of reality, leaving Gordon completely alone on a weaponized, exploding ship plunging directly towards the Combine's Dyson sphere. In his final moments of absolute clarity, Gordon gazes out at the unfathomable, infinite scope of the Combine Empire. He realizes the crushing truth: the Borealis, humanity's ultimate, final, world-saving weapon, is nothing more than a small explosive detonating against a sun. It means absolutely nothing to an empire this vast. Before the Borealis can erase him from history, the Voltgaunt's rip open the curtains of reality, pluck Gordon from the blast radiance, and deposit him back on Earth many years later, leaving him a forgotten ghost in a world that has completely moved on. This is the tragic, beautifully bleak future of Marc Laidlaw's vision. A suicide run that proves human ambition was never enough to dent the insane power of the Combine, while also leaving Alex's fate up to debate. While Marc Laidlaw's bleak, nihilistic vision stood as the definitive conclusion to the story for over a decade, Valve did the unthinkable and completely shattered that story. The release of Half-Life Alyx fundamentally rewrote the timeline, creating a massive narrative shift that turned our first theory entirely on its head. In the shocking final moments of Half-Life Alyx, the past is altered. Eli Vance does not die in the White Forest hangar, and instead, he survives, while his daughter Alex is plucked from reality and forced into stasis by the G-Man. This single twist completely demolishes the premise of the Borealis as a suicide weapon. The ship can no longer be a kamikaze missile meant to honor Eli's dying wish, because Eli, well, he's standing right there, breathing, fueled by a terrifying paternal rage, holding a crowbar and vowing to kill the man who stole his daughter. With this one stroke of the pen, the Borealis turned into a thematic inversion. It's no longer an instrument of tragic finality. It becomes humanity's ultimate beacon of defiance. If the ship is no longer destined to be detonated against the Dyson sphere, its true purpose shifts from a weapon of mass destruction into a key. To understand what I mean, we have to look back at the chaotic physics of the Borealis itself. The ship didn't just teleport across physical space, it untethered itself from a fixed anchor in space-time, leaving it vibrating violently across dimensions, touching the past, the present, and the future simultaneously. So for this theory, I think that Eli Vance and Isaac Kleiner will quickly realize that this chaotic, multi-dimensional oscillation is the only thing on Earth powerful enough to achieve the impossible. Now listen, standard human resistance technology and even the localized technology of the Combine is strictly bound by the physical laws of our universe, rendering the G-Man's extra-dimensional void completely invisible and unreachable. But the Borealis is already unmoored from our reality. The ship is literally vibrating throughout the universe. Instead of journeying to the frozen wastes of the Arctic to blow the ship up and prevent a second catastrophe, Gordon Freeman's new directive is more ambitious and dangerous. Armed with Judith Mossman's know-how, the remaining scientists must stabilize the ship's temporal vibrations just enough for Gordon and Eli to step onto the bridge. From there, they can intentionally launch the vessel directly into the cosmic folds of space-time. The Borealis ceases to be an object of defensive survival and transforms into an interdimensional rescue vessel, a reality-hopping ship engineered to track the G-Man's dimensional signature, breach his reality-bending prison, and rescue Alyx Vance from his stasis, attempting to bring the G-Man, his employers, and the Combine down at the same time. This completely upends the traditional tone of the entire franchise. It shifts Half-Life away from a bleak, post-apocalyptic war against an occupying alien force, turning the next chapter into an aggressive, offensive, high-stakes prison break across the fabric of time and space itself. Humanity is no longer just defending Earth. They're using Aperture Science to take the fight directly to the forces governing the universe. To put it into perspective, this is on a similar level of attempting to fight a god, really, because the G-Man seems to be all-powerful and all-knowing. He's just missing the omnibenevolent part that supposedly makes God God. Finally, we arrive at the third and my personal favorite theory. The main idea of it comes from this incredible video created by Squared Eyes. I highly suggest all of you go watch their video. I'll have it linked in the description because it's incredibly well done, smart, and well edited, and it puts forward an incredibly original idea that I hadn't seen anywhere else. The basic gist is that the tragedy of Earth's colonization wasn't a random cosmic misfortune, but a perfect loop where humanity accidentally caused its own extinction. To grasp this cosmic nightmare, we have to look closely at the catastrophic volatility of Aperture Science's Borealis at the exact moment of its activation. When the panicked scientists flipped the switch during the 7-hour war to keep the ship out of alien hands, the field didn't just tear the vessel from its physical dry dock, it overshot its chronological coordinates entirely. Instead of simply crossing space to arrive in the modern Arctic, the Borealis was cast adrift in the deep tides of time, hurtling millions of years into the ancient past onto a harsh primordial world on the other side of the universe. On this distant planet lived a young, developing alien civilization. When these primitive beings stumbled upon the rusted, impossibly advanced wreckage of a human research vessel, the trajectory of their species changed forever. Inside the frozen hull, they found the pristine, reality-bending remnants of Aperture's teleportation and spatial folding technology. By spending generations reverse engineering the self-contained mechanics of the bootstrap device and all the technology on the ship, this civilization didn't just advance. They underwent an artificial, hyper-accelerated evolutionary leap. They mastered dimensional travel, perfected biomechanical engineering, and began systematically assimilating other worlds, eventually evolving into the cold, monolithic, multi-dimensional empire we know as the Combine. Think about it. The Combine have tractor beams, the exact same energy balls that we see in Aperture Science, similar cameras, similar methods of transporting things, the same exact movements for the energy ball collectors, similar light walkways, force field, the same damn turrets. Both the Combine and Aperture know about different universes.
When the singularity collapses, I will be far away from here, in another universe as a matter of fact.
Aperture knows how to take a man and put him back together.
You could walk out of here with 120 weighing down your bindle if you let us take you apart, put some science stuff in you, then put you back together, good as new.
What do the Combine do? Take people apart and put them back together. They have the exact same bombs. Both the portal gun and the Citadel have a similar power source for the creation of portals. It goes so deep. And the video by Squared Eyes perfectly explains it. The Combine firstly attempted to find the Borealis during the 7-hour war, breaching Aperture Science, causing the bootstrap device to activate. And because of this, the Borealis fluctuates through time and space as the technology was not exactly stable. The Borealis technology becomes the source of the Combine's power, hundreds of millions of years in the past. Eventually, Aperture Science discovers the Borealis phasing through time, lodged deep within the Earth's crust inside a salt mine. From this, they managed to reverse engineer all of the Aperture Science tech that we see. That's why Black Mesa doesn't have better portals or technology, despite bigger funding. It's not because Aperture Science has less ethics, that was always a cop-out. It's because this ship has always existed forever across time and space, and Aperture harnessed it. Aperture Science stabilized the ship, causing the ship's connection to the Combine to sever, as previously it was in multiple places at once. Then, years later, because of the G-Man's nudge, the resonance cascade happens. Portal storms wreak havoc on the Earth and make the Borealis' presence known across the universe because of its insane dimensional signature. The Combine notices this and wants to find it in order to learn more about teleportation and dimensions, as they hadn't yet managed to fully reverse engineer it because of how complex it was. Aperture Science took that away from them, so they attacked and the loop happens all over again. The terrifying poetry of this theory means that the Combine's entire interdimensional dominion, their synths, the Citadel, their mastery over space, is built entirely on stolen human blueprints. When the Combine finally breached our dimension and conquered Earth in a mere 7 hours, they weren't just executing a random campaign of galactic expansion, they were unconsciously tracking the cosmic ripples of the very technology that birthed them, drawn back across millions of years to the exact coordinates and species that created their empire. It means that when Aperture Science attempted to hide the Borealis from the Combine by activating the Bootstrap Protocol, they didn't save the future. They inadvertently created the enemy. The Combine exists because the Borealis fed from them, locking humanity into a permanent loop. It's basically a self-inflicted wound where our desperate attempt to escape our captors is the very thing that changes to them forever. Wow, that sounded really cool. Was that really cool, guys? Did you like that? Did you like that little line I just wrote? This was my Borealis deep dive. Others have made similar videos, but I thought going over the potential future of the Borealis could be a cool video. The idea for this video was inspired by Squared Eyes, so again, please check out their videos. They are incredibly well made and come up with really cool conspiracies and theories. Thank you to all my beautiful members on the screen. I appreciate all of you, and if you want to join and get a shout out at the end of the video, the link to my members is in the description. I also have a Discord, so if you're interested in joining the community, come and hang out, and we'd love to see you there. Thank you for watching, subscribe, leave a like, and a comment saying Borealis if you made it this far.